And I might not get to the finish line with you, but I will continue to strive to carve out my own space before passing this baton on to a new generation of runner, confident in victory because success, it runs in my race.
Now, I wanted to cover this story not only because obviously I'm locked up and I now come from a locked up sisterhood of family, but because what I do see and hear a lot in, say, forums, and even online to some extent in just regular spaces, are people saying that, like, again, we're in this post-racial society. There is no more stereotyping about things like hair. Your hair would not be something that people would discriminate over or ban you from doing certain types of things or hate you for or whatever. And so you hear a lot of discussion, let's say in the dreadlocks and Locs forums, say in Reddit, right, about gatekeeping hair. Black people are trying to gatekeep hair and trying to make hair more than it is. It's just a hairstyle. And I mean, those of us with a slightly darker persuasion and darker, and I understand that under these lights, I literally am as white as the paper, but I am actually black, I swear. Anyways, but those of us of a certain persuasion understand, especially those of us who have long hair of a certain persuasion understand, right, that our 4C hair and the things that it naturally does has always been something that has been used to other us, to stereotype against us and whatever. And I hear people often say things like, well, shoot, if you just go back to Africa, you're going to be fine. So I wanted to read this story. Now, this family's son was banned from school for 3 years because of his dreadlocks. Take a better look at the family while I tell you the story. Now, for years, Ali Nansolo grappled with whether to cut his son's dreadlocks or not. Although it is not a legal requirement in Malawi, an unwritten policy enforced across government schools meant his son was being denied admission because of his hair. Nansolo's could not pay for private education for his son Ishmael from his modest dressmaking income, and cutting his hair, an important symbol of the Rastafari religion, was inconceivable to him. Rastafari is a spiritual way of life. Keeping dreadlocks is like we are committing ourselves to a vow before the Most High Creator that we will serve him in our life without denying his laws or commandments, Nansolo told CNN. It's interesting because there are other religions, for example, Indian religions, where men don't cut their hair. And they, like, literally don't cut their hair. Their hair is, like Samson and whatever, right? Like, you never cut a man's hair, and you keep it protected. It's very similar to Locs and Rastafari. And yet, I've never seen, folks in that religion be told they have to cut their hair to just go to school. It's very strange. Anyway, the 48-year-old makes between 200,000 to 300,000 Malawian kwacha. That's around $194 to $291 monthly, while his wife, Empress, supplements the family's income by selling secondhand clothes. I felt oppressed, Nansolo said, as he recalled the staff of a state-run secondary school in Zomba, southern Malawi, refusing to register Ishmael because of his hair. Nansolo said he contacted an officer at the Ministry of Education who advised him to cut his son's hair so that he could go to school. Nansolo found himself caught up in the discriminatory policies of Malawian public schools and decided to take legal action against the Ministry of Education along with a group of parents. I went to the Women Lawyers Association of Malawi to ask for help. The association accepted and we went to court in November of 2017, he said. Temporary relief for 3 years, Ishmael, then 15, would remain out of school as the court case dragged on. Then in 2020, the Malawi High Court placed an interim order compelling public schools to enroll Ishmael and other Rastafari children until a final ruling was reached. It was a legal victory that marked a significant milestone for the estimated 15,000 Rastafari community in Malawi, according to Nansolo, who is also a community elder. However, the temporary relief did not address the broader issue of discrimination that around 1,200 affected students face, their lawyer Chikondi Chijozi told CNN. we saw a number of Rastafari children being admitted into government schools, but there were still reported cases of children of the Rastafari community being denied admission into government schools, and their parents were forced to take the court injunction to the school to compel them to admit them, Chijozi said. After 6 years, a 6-year legal challenge, the Malawian High Court delivered a landmark ruling on May 8th. The court ruled that it was unlawful to require learners, including Rastafarian kids, to cut their hair before they enrolled in public schools. The ruling came into immediate effect, but the government has until June 30th to issue a nationwide statement mandating acceptance of all dreadlocked children into school. Chijoki told CNN, "We got a judgment from the court which essentially upheld the rights of the Rastafari children and abolished the policy that requires all learners, including Rastafari children, to cut off their dreadlocks for them to be admitted into government schools." Nansolo expressed his community's jubilation that their children could now finally continue their education. The judgment means that we are now free because most of us in the Rastafarian community don't earn much, so we couldn't manage to send our children to private schools, Nansolo said. "We are happy seeing that our children will now be going to public schools without being sent back or denied their right to education." CNN has contacted the Education Ministry for comment on the ruling. Despite this victory, Malawi's Rastafarian community still faces numerous challenges. Unemployment, poverty, and corporate discrimination persistently plague the community. Data on the community is hard to come by, but the U.S. State Department says around 5.6% of Malawi's nearly 21 million population is formed of other religions, including Hindus, Baha'is, Rastafarians, Jews, and Sikhs. Most of us rely on business to survive. Lack of jobs is a big challenge for the Rastafarian community because those in offices are reluctant to employ Rastas, Nansolo said. "The corporate world feels that being Rastafari is associated with criminality, but we are not like that." And see, I want to make this clear because people don't understand this, whether we're talking about Africa, right? Or we're talking about, let's say, I don't know, one of the islands in the Caribbean. The problem with us in the North, right? North America, let's say, we don't understand that as long as all of this hate and stereotyping is happening in countries that are predominantly Black, like those countries in Africa or in the Caribbean, right? We're going to have, of course, these stereotypes persisting all over the world, all over North America. And why would they not? If they persist in countries that are literally, we are the majority, why would they not persist in countries where we're the far minority? So this is a victory for the people of Malawi. You know, hopefully it will be a victory in other countries in Africa as well that have been suffering from this type of discrimination. But hopefully those of us who are not there, hopefully we will amplify these messages and amplify these voices and amplify these victories and celebrate with them, because the more victories that are happening where we are the majority demographic, the more victories we're going to be able to have elsewhere, like in North America. And so for me, somebody who literally found the magic of Locs and cannot wait for my children also to be locked up and have a completely different life than I had. Never touch the creamy crack, ever, never touch the weaves and all of that fake foolishness, silky, Remy, whatever. They won't even know what it is. I can't wait for that. But I don't want my children to be limited and stereotyped and held back because of ancient, outdated stereotypes and biases against hair that naturally grows out of our head. And yes, this happens not just in Africa, because I've 1,000% seen it in Jamaica and with Jamaicans and with other people, other Christian nations. They have an issue with the Rastafarian religion and anything associated with it, including Locs. But look at this beautiful, perfectly respectable family. And tell me what's wrong with Locs? Nothing? Exactly. So happy for this family, so happy for the people of Malawi, and hopefully we can continue on this progress around the world.
And I might not get to the finish line with you, but I will continue to strive to carve out my own space before passing this baton on to a new generation of runners, confident in victory because success, it runs in my race.